Phase 1, we spoke about survival skills, creating the culture that is more educated and aware at the beginning stages of the journey, proactive at-risk family training. Our next generation of at-risk family and leadership, which is our college students, and it's here to change the culture, and that's really why we work with our college students, boots on the ground. Phase 2, we talked about compassion and empathy, creating a more educated and aware culture that sees, hears, and experiences the highest level of ability of those living with autism or living at risk through music, marketing, media platforms, merchandise, and more. Our community education and awareness moves emotional information quickly. And phase 3, which is what you're going to be hearing about, is our workforce development. We're creating sustainable life, job, and safety skills amongst the autism at-risk populations, starting at pre-K, really prenatal with our college students, prenatal all the way to adult life. Responding to vulnerable populations, we prepare our vulnerable populations for society as we prepare society for our vulnerable population. Phase 3, one of the first steps that we're going to take is safe community leadership. We're going to be working with high school peer-to-peer mentorship programs with our education ambassador, Angela Rossetti. Phase 3, new collaborative impact partnership, Kiwanis and Rotary High School Clubs. It's a peer-to-peer mentorship skills leadership program that we wrote, Sounds of Autism wrote, and we're going to be introducing it to the high school students that are in the key clubs or the interact clubs with the Kiwanis Club or the Rotary Club. These high schools are already encouraging these students to take on larger leadership roles and things like that, so we want to take those and just even enhance them more and give them some really high level strategies to shoot for. Teamwork skills, management skills, leadership skills, compassion and empathy, and more are really what we include in all of it. The Kiwanis Club International Key Club would be introduced to a program called the Key Peers program, Keepers. And a keeper for a police officer is actually their duty belt is held up by these little straps called keepers. It's to keep them safe and their belt in the proper place to make sure that everybody is safe in that crisis moment, especially those officers that may need to draw a gun or one of the tools on their tool belt. When we came up with the name Keepers, it was really to basically say that these kids, these Key Club kids, were the key peers or the peer-to-peer mentors of those that are vulnerable populations on their campus. People with autism, people with disabilities, anybody that has the ability to do typical life with additional support, these keepers would be introduced to those individuals and be working with us on getting them to the next level. Keepers bridge the gaps between at-risk populations, community, and educational platforms. So the plan for the Key Club, or the vision statement, was that Key Clubs aimed to support the school principals and teachers to provide high school students with invaluable experience in living and working together and to prepare them for useful citizenship. Our members develop initiative and leadership skills by serving their schools and their communities. And one of the biggest things they said about these Key Clubbers was that they wanted them to be vocational guidance to create that unified platform for everyone. And the one thing that I noticed is that we needed an extra layer of support for those that have disabilities. So we would be adding the next layer of a Keepers leadership style, which is to empower these members and allow them to experience the true success and failure of being the leader, while strengthening their compassion and empathy within these young leadership people. And the business model that we would teach would be a peer-to-peer leadership model to create a more unified culture and a higher level of leadership. So basically, when we start teaching these Key Club members, they would be a student and the person teaching them would be the teacher. But as these students are learning, we're also empowering them to take on somebody else and to teach them what they're learning, so that they can also become a teacher, and we can make sure that it's sustainable information, that they're going to be teaching in a way where people understand. And if we can get them to that level where they're incorporating these ideas into somebody else's mind and getting them to deliver a result, they actually get to write their signature on that because they did that. They took it all the way to the highest level of leadership or managing. Our plan from the start to finish, this is really written by the Key Club and the Kiwanis Club when they wrote the mission of what this is about. And it says to develop by percept, it was percept, I put perception, and example, a more intelligent, aggressive, and serviceable, and I added unified citizenship, including everybody. They also wrote to provide a practical means to form enduring friendships, to render unselfish service, and to build better communities. I added unified communities, so everybody's included. So if we were to create these successful communities and bridge gaps between families, education, and community, then we would be creating what we call keepers, peer-to-peer, keepers culture. And with the Rotary, an Interact Club. So their club would be called the Inner Peer Program Introduction. And it's not a new club, it's just a new component of that club. We don't want people to stop doing what the Kiwanis Club had originally thought of. We want to work with them on adding another layer or another level of high-level leadership. So these interpeers would bridge the gaps between at-risk populations, responders, and educational platforms. So the only difference between these two clubs is the interpeers would, be focusing on keeping peace and safety within the environment, which is a responder, and the Kiwanis Club would be really unifying the community and creating a more level or balanced community because everybody was included. With the interpeers, we would ask them to take on at-risk issues. If the school administration is seeing a high level of individuals, talking about committing suicide, getting involved with drugs, things that are really difficult to overcome, when we're seeing these things happen, that these peer individuals would be assigned to these kids and that they could work together to get through this and really try to overcome it. A lot of times people actually push those types of people away because they don't know what to say or how to fix the problem. But just having a friend, somebody that could be a peer-to-peer mentor for you, somebody that could be there to listen or understand or offer suggestions, we really, really want to empower these interpeer members to do something like that. And they would have the same exact business model from, the learning stage to teachers teach the teacher to signature where they're putting their signature on something because they really took it to a whole different level. And with the Rotary, their finishing point as a Rotarian is a 4-way test. And they say, is it truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? And if you think about what we just talked about, is it truth? Yes. We have absolutely lost our way with unifying at-risk individuals in our community. And that is the truth. And we definitely need to improve how we're integrating these individuals. Is it fair to all concerned? We believe it is, because this peer-to-peer idea does not put all the emphasis on one person. It's everybody works together. We all fail together. We all succeed together. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Well, goodwill means that everybody's getting along, and friendships mean that we work together. And those are all things that we're encouraging with this program, is to help support each other. And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Absolutely. This is taking the next generation of parents and leaders, and we're building their level of compassion and empathy for others, and through fellowship, creating safe and successful unified culture that is respected by all globally, is really aligning with the mission that the Rotary Club has. Interpret safe, honest, and unified leadership is really what our goal is that we want it safe, we want it honest, and we want it unified. And we call that inner peer culture. Phase 3 is our workforce development launch, and this is our STOP project. We want to teach at-risk individuals, including autism, life, job, and safety skill preparation for workforce development. And we want to serve the autism community and others at risk as much and often as we can, but we want to do it through others. So we want to find individuals in the community that would love to take on a role like this. Somebody like my son Landon or his friend Alex, who have the ability to be a leader, but have never been given the chance, maybe because they didn't ask for it, and maybe because people didn't believe they could do it. And they want to lead this program. When we launch it, we're going to launch it, but when we get to the point where we know it's going to work, And we know it's sustainable, which we're pretty much there. We just have our next student. We're going to test it out, and if it works out, then this will be the program model, and we'll take it into all the different cities that allow us to teach them how to implement this program into their city, so that we can empower them and they can run it on their own. Introduction to Phase 3 Workforce Development, we call it the STOP project, Simple Task Operations Project. It's our pilot program, and it's workforce development. And it's a peer-to-peer at-risk, preparing at-risk for adult life. And we really want to pair up age groups, or older with a little bit younger, but really trying to teach people how to work together as a survival team. From training, Introduction to Life Skills, we'll focus on greeting people, making others feel comfortable, preparing our minds to learn, living with manners, practice the golden rule, independent coping, how to ask for help, how to manage time, sense of urgency, safe boundary setting, and last but not least, learn to fail. We need to learn to fail at something so that all of us are comfortable saying, I need help. These boys allowed us to show them this type of a thinking, and today they show us. We are so proud of them. Introduction to job skills, we find their highest quality and their ability. Find their passion. Find your compassion for others. Create a small business. Branding your business. Independent coping, how to ask for help. Setting standards. Money management. Marketing your business, and last but not least, learn how to fail. And if you fail, ask for help. This is the logo that Alex and Landon created. Landon's imaginary, we call it animal dinosaur, hybrid animal dinosaur, which is an anasaur, and Alex's artistic drawing. Together, they're an awesome survival pair. And this is part of the Lanimals Fun with Animals show, but this is called a wolf raptor. So it's half wolf, half velociraptor. Introduction to safety skills. We will talk about independent coping, independent life skills, independent job skills, independent boundary setting, independent virtual and mobile safety practices, peer-to-peer coping mentorship, peer-to-peer life skill mentorship, job skill mentorship, peer-to-peer boundary mentorship, peer-to-peer virtual and mobile safety practices, and peer-to-peer mentorship to support a fail. We want to fail so we can get better at not failing. We want to say thank you to the Goodyear Police Department, especially SRO Sergeant Tyler and his SRO leaders, especially King, who put together an entire program for the summer last year. And Alex and Landon were asked to come as guests, and Sergeant King really put them around all kinds of different individuals and transportation solutions for crisis, just everything that could potentially trigger these individuals. He had them there learning about it, having them touch it, test it, and really understand what was expected of them if there was a crisis. And we want to thank the Goodyear Fire Department because they also came out and participated. It was great to see them working alongside Goodyear Police Department, and the boys really had a great time. Boots on the ground. We volunteer whenever we can to learn as much as we can. That's our motto for Sounds of Autism's Life, Job, and Safety Skill Program. We volunteered at the local food banks. We volunteered at ranches. We volunteered at Dysart Elementary School, summer custodial support. We volunteered in 65 and over communities, simple task cleaning, collaboration. We volunteered to bring hygiene supplies to domestic violence. And we volunteered wherever we can to teach as much as we can. And that's really our motto for life, job, and safety. The lead coaches of our STAR project are Coach Landon and Coach Alex. And their first student is going to be coaching or learning to coach in training is Darian. And Darian is learning from Alex and Landon, and I'm there to support to ensure that this information that we're giving these boys is currently working, and that we're not just leaving them high and dry, that we're making sure that it's implemented and it's, there's an accountability factor, and that Alex and Landon are truly following the direction that we have given them from the past. We were cheering because it was Darian's first day, and he got through his student orientation by helping us clean a house and learn the ropes of working with Sounds of Autism. We're very proud of him. Congratulations, Darian, and welcome to our team. We volunteered at Litchfield Elementary School at their community garden, and we worked with the Litchfield Park Kiwanis Club to support them as well. They do a lot, this Kiwanis Club and Rotarian clubs, they do a lot to support their community, including the nonprofits. So we're very grateful for their help and their support, and we want to give back as much as we can. Teaching stage for students to teachers. Congratulations, Team Wolf Raptor, for accomplishing your first tier of the STOP project, and now we're going to get Darian through that first tier, and you guys will be working through your second tier. Phase 3 is our web apps, safety solutions, unified responder community programs, and tools, and we're serving our ACRE communities, which is autism or at-risk, community, responders, and educational leaders. This is what our web app would look like on a phone screen. You click on it, it would go to these different components, and there may be more added, but I think right now this is what we're sticking with, our ACRE community and our crisis support button. Under our families, we would do something similar to this, where these individuals would have an orientation to learn how to navigate the app, as well as finding the milestones that they're interested in seeking more information about, and clicking on that, and it'll take them to a digital library. It'll take them to a place where they can sign up to get some information or have an intake with Sounds of Autism or other resources that might be available to them, and typically we'll give at least 3 suggestions. Community will focus on many things, but as you can see, it's over sensory right now. Our community and leaders would be put through an orientation to learn how to navigate our web app, but we would also categorize some of these different topics to make sure that we keep it very, very simple and streamlined. Researchers, they would be police, fire, pediatrics, general pediatricians, OBGYN, eye doctors, dentists, ortho, hospitals, I mean, you name it. And the reason that we want to do this and really do the orientation with them as well is because we want to ensure that all families have ideas or solutions for these different topics, because many of these kids have dental issues or they can't go to the dentist, too much over sensory. We need to make sure that we give them solutions that will encourage them to get their teeth clean or go to the doctor and get their physicals, where there's no stress and anxiety attached to it, or if it is, it's very minimal, and we've de-escalated some of that stress that these kids have. Under educators, we do not introduce this one yet because we're still working on it, but it would be very similar to the first responders, where educational leaders would be able to go on and start teaching some information that might be beneficial to our officers, like how to work with a nonverbal person, and what type of tools could they offer from the school districts to help our first responders learn how to bridge those gaps. It's a cultural change, and we're trying to get everybody to communicate with one another, and this app would be the perfect one-stop shop for all kinds of different communications that we need to get out there into the community. In our crisis support, it might have a responder tool button that we're pushing on there. Right now we're working with Huntington University doctoral students that are going through a psychological, whether it's OT, PT, speech therapy, whatever it is that their focus is, but they're helping us develop this, and they know this tool will be very beneficial to them, especially if they're working with nonverbal individuals. So this simple poster board is a great communication tool, and if we could teach the kids how to use this universal board in schools, and then we have the officers use a universal board with each other, and that all aligns, then they aren't seeing a tool for the first time when they're in crisis. We've already practiced these skills, and that will really help, I believe, with de-escalation based on what I'm seeing with my son. We also have emergency operations plans that are required on a lot of our school platforms, and what's happening is a lot of times they're not unified. They're not entering information about what would we do if there was a crisis, active shooter, a tornado, whatever it may be. How would we respond to that, and how would our at-risk population respond to that, and how will we ensure that we gave them another layer of support? So those are things that we will work on, and we have Kelly Carvalho with us that could help us get that information to you. And then we also have we're going to start focusing on a little bit of human trafficking and sexual exploitation. This is our expert, and I say expert because she's done this over 30 years. She works with human trafficking and sexual exploitation recovery victims, and that's kids and adults. And she helps support them get the resources they need, get into the shelters, find housing, all that kind of stuff. But when she met me, we talked a little bit about how important it is that we also include individuals with disabilities and how to make this a preventative thing. But if they do, ever end up in this situation, how do we remove all of that oversensory that they're going to have endured by that point and really get them back to integrate back into society in a very safe and comfortable way? And we know with autism that's very different. So Lisa and I are going to team up and work with these individuals to give them those life, job, and safety skills, but to a different level, and really help them start removing some of that sensory and de-escalating some of the issues that they deal with. There's a girl in Glendale in 2019. She was taken, we believe, out of her home from a trafficking groomer who got her into an Uber. She climbed a 6-foot fence with a bunch of chairs, climbed over. We believe she may have jumped into a car. All of her electronics were shut off and turned off, and that was the end. And mom hasn't seen her since. She was 15 then. She's now going to be 18, and I mean, it's just really a sad story. And her mom does everything every day to try to find this girl. And if you ever see Alicia, or you think you may notice her, obviously this is when she was 15, but if you have a picture in your mind and you kind of see that this is somebody that you might know or have seen before, please dial 911 and let them know, because she's been missing way too long, and she is a very vulnerable population. We also had an autistic boy, 18 years old. He was addicted to drugs and stealing. Mom and dad decided they were done. They dropped him off at a homeless population, and he had a drug overdose, and they found him laying in a homeless camp. So that was 2020. And again, these could be things that we could be supporting these families or supporting these kids, hopefully before they even graduate high school, so that they're not going through these things. And, we're not going to save everybody. We know that. But we're going to try really hard to try to at least put some preventative measures in place to help support these individuals. This is Juby. Juby passed away as well. He was 22. He eloped from his home. He was found a few months later in a canal, and he was decapitated. We're not sure if it was foul play. The case was closed. Nobody's really questioning what really happened here. And it's really sad because Juby, when you hear him talking on the videos that were left behind, he's just an amazing kid and really had a big heart. And having him go through this as a death is just really difficult to even comprehend. We also had Stephen and, Nico. Stephen is his brother, Nico. And Nico is also somebody that is just a really good kid. I watched him grow up. It was really sad to me. But at 23, he was living in a group home, and the group home they just were a hot mess. They were not responding to the people living in their center. And we're not sure why he, passed away. We know he had some drug issues, but we thought that he was in recovery and that he was doing a good job. And then they find him outside the home, and he's dead. He died. And we just really want to make sure that these types of things are starting to become part of how we do preventative maintenance for these individuals, so that we can try to find a way to keep them alive. Phase 3, we have events and fundraising with the Kiwanis Rotary, the Elks Club, the blood drives. We have a shootout for autism by Julie. She's going to help us get that up and running. She's our Director of Veterans and Military Affairs. Works a lot with law enforcement. She works a lot with the community. She's an advocate. She sits on the board of directors for the Veterans Alliance, and she just does a really good job. So we're very proud to have her and very thankful we have her on our team. We have our annual team appreciation that was last night for Sounds of Autism. We're so excited that we were able to celebrate our team and see the growth. I mean, I think last year we had 25, maybe 20 to 25 individuals, and I think last night in our room we had maybe 50, and I think 10 people were missing. So, it really was like 60. So we've doubled numbers just in the volunteers and the people that are really helping us. We're going to do an annual community gala, and I'm working with Andrea from Blue Cross Blue Shield, and annual Making Noise for Autism Walk with Katrina, and I'm working with her from Vitalent. We're excited, and these are all fundraisers, so get ready. Phase 3 is our grants and sponsorship team. We don't want to forget about these guys because they're behind the scenes doing a lot of work for us. Steve, James, Dee Dee, and Amanda. Thank you. Then Phase 3, Executive Advisory Consultant Board, our sub-crisis roadmap team. They're supporting our journey from prenatal till the end of life with different components. Alan Mace is our final farewell preparation person. He works for Dignity Memorial Funeral Homes and Burial, and he works with families to set up a plan. So if mom and dad were to pass before this kid and nobody was around to help support his final wishes or their final wishes, this individual, Alan Mace, could help you with all of that. So that's all in writing, all documented. There's insurances that you can purchase or whatever you need to do to prepare for that day. Justin Cairns is our long-term solutions for wealth management and financial planning. He actually does personally, he works with me and my husband, and we do a lot with him. He's a great investor, but he's also great with really making sure that the families are satisfied with the care that he gives. So please let us know. Reach out to us at soundsofautism.org, and we can get you in touch with Justin as soon as possible. We also have Nancy Gilbert. She works for a smaller Sky Homes, a very smaller company, because she really wanted to be able to give that one-on-one attention to families, especially at-risk families, in purchasing a home, making sure that they're not around things that will trigger these kids, or making sure that they're safe around pools, because a lot of these kids have a tendency of eloping, which means they're leaving the home and they run towards water, and we don't know why, but drowning is a major issue with this population, and it doesn't matter if it's old or young. So be very aware. We also have Stephen Smith, our home financing solutions. Stephen is a dad of autism, and we really believe that if you ever have a situation where you need to pull the equity out of your home to find financial coverage for anything that your child may need, Stephen is the person that we highly recommend. He's going to do everything he can to bend over backwards to make this a very simple process for you. He does not want to see families struggling. And Bernadette, his wife, she does Legal Shield, and this is a very affordable legal solution. You can contact them anytime, ask them for help for whatever. They will consult you, and if it's out of their wheelhouse, they'll find an attorney to do that. They'll write letters on your behalf and have them notarized and sent out to basically tell people that they need to either cease and desist, or they need to get your finances given back to you, or whatever the issue may be. If it's something that doesn't qualify, they will make suggestions, and they do offer some, I think it's 25% on some lawyers or attorney fees. So you really get a benefit from that, and it's a very affordable every month type financing. And then Steve Pomerantz, Affordable Insurance Solutions and D-SNP. Steve does work with insurances, and he works with a lot of different families. A lot of it is the 65 and over populations. But with D-SNP, if you have Social Security for your child or yourself, and you have Medicaid, Medicare and Medicaid can be put together to be two or dual coverage for your insurances. There's a lot that goes along with that, but I just want you to know that if you have Medicare and Medicaid both, make sure you reach out to us to get Steve in your world, because he can help you bridge those two and make it a dual coverage for you and your family. That's a big deal. And then Angelo Rossetti, he does a lot of our Dave Ramsey money budgeting, and he's working on helping families just figure out if they're having credit issues and they can't go get a house from Stephen or Nancy or whatever it may be. Angelo is able to work with them on really planning out their money and how they'll spend it to get to that level of being able to afford these home purchases and things like that. On behalf of the Sounds of Autism's team, we want to thank you and the team members and the volunteers and the supporters for the kickoff of our 2023 initiative. We're super excited with the things that are happening and that we're doing to be able to bridge the gaps for our families. If you have any questions, please reach out to www.soundsofautism.org, and it's soundsofautism.org. I want to make sure that you understand that. Thank you guys, and have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.